Okay, people. So, just back from a screening of a new documentary called Tish. It is from director Paul Sing. Uh, it's produced by Jennifer Corcoran, executive produced by Mark Thomas, co-produced by Paul Sing. John Archer also executive produces, and it's associate produced by Harley Heasel. Music is handled by Alexandra Hamilton-Ayres. Cinematography, we have David Lee and Holly Galloway. Angela Slavin and Lindsay Watson edit the piece. Production design, we've got Shian Colvin and Richard Drew. Shian also takes care of the costume design. Emma Butt and Cassandra Rutledge work on the sound. The film, well, we have got Shin-Fei Chen, who portrays Tish. Maxine Peake narrates Tish. And Tish's daughter, Ella Murtha, is heavily involved. She's interviewing all the different people we see in the documentary, giving insight into her mother and just all things such as that. Now, the gist is this: the third of 10 children, Tish Murtha, grew up in Elswick in Newcastle upon Tyne. After finding a camera in an abandoned house as a child, Murtha became fiercely driven by her conviction to expose social inequality and the impact of Thatcher era disindustrialization on the north of England. Murtha's lens was a window into the raw essence of everyday life, reflecting the struggles, joys, and resilience of the people she photographed. Her striking black and white photos convey a tenderness and intimacy that set her apart from her peers, and her work would become a powerful record of a world dominated by a new and ruthless capitalism. Tish's story is told via a series of intimate conversations conducted by Murtha's daughter, Ella, who has dedicated her life to establishing her mother's remarkable legacy. Through the poignant memories of Murtha's friends and family, the film traces the key works and moments in Murtha's life and career. How powerful motivations and political views are brought to life through her diary entries, letters, and various writings narrated by Maxine Peake and accompanied by a patchwork of photography. So, this is just fascinating, right? It's a fascinating thing. I don't like, sometimes you look at stuff and you think, have I seen that picture before? I'm not quite sure, but I definitely didn't know the name Tish Murtha. So that's why this kind of stuff is so fascinating, because you really do get your eyes opened, right? And this documentary has done a fantastic job of that, because we have just a myriad of different people. Her brothers, she had three brothers, her younger sister, they all they're all featured with Ella talking to everyone, and then her best friends, people she grew up with. So we really do get this whole kind of cross section of a lot of the different kind of parts of Tish's life. We get that insight into her growing up, her at school, at college, university, right? Because we got two of her lecturers there. So that is fascinating, right? Because I think, you learn that she, found a camera in this abandoned house, like when she was 15 or 16. And at the beginning, she was carrying it around even without film, right? She just seemed to have this pull towards the camera and inquisitiveness, of everything that's happening around her. And, the question of why is this happening? Why is this considered fair? Right? Which, when you think about the time she grew up, right? And in the 80s, it was Margaret Thatcher just decimated certain industries in the country. And for the most part, a lot of those industries were in the north of the country. Right. So places like Newcastle, Hull, Yorkshire, right? They really Bristol, they really faced just the repercussions of everything that she did. And a lot of this is only brought to life because of people like Tish, right? So from that early age, we learned that she, had this affinity to the still image. And even though she loved to take photos, there was a hesitancy and a kind of a fear of putting herself out there. And so it was just, she met these couple who let her use their darkroom, and then they literally kind of forced her to go to college, right, where she then picks up the fundamentals, right, the kind of, the foundation which her raw skill can grow from. So I think that's really interesting. But here's one of the things, right? She didn't want to be confined within the rigidity of what people view certain types of photography, right? She hated the expression community photographer, which I'd never come across, right? And to be honest, I'd never come across documentary photography, right? I just kind of looked at photography, just having just different styles, right? I never broke it down into different kind of genres as such, like genres with titles, which when you think about it, yeah, you think, yeah, obviously they probably do have this all kinds of, media and entertainment is usually broken down, apart from comedy, right? That's the only one that hasn't seemed to have, different kinds of categories. But yeah, she hated that term. And you can kind of understand, because I think people try and marginalize people through certain terms, right? And she just wanted her work to speak for itself, right? And just get the platform to shine. But there's a struggle in that, because a lot of times the people that are controlling the platforms, controlling the funding, you know, like to play God, right? And so it's never distributed in a fair way, or there's caveats, right? We'll give you this money, but you have to do this in this way. And that was something that she railed against. She was not a fan at all, which, after learning a little bit about her, isn't surprising, right? Not surprising at all. But her style of photos are really something I enjoy, because I used to just call it the action shot, right? But it's kinetic photography that I feel I like. It's where things aren't posed, right? You're capturing something as it happens. And that, I think, because it's in the moment, So you really get that raw emotion of what's going down. And when you look at those photos, I think, and especially if you were there, it really just brings everything flooding back, because you can look and be like, oh yeah, no, they're like that because someone just told a joke. And so, you know what I mean? That's not a look or shock. That's just, they're just belly up laughing, man. And, or, oh, we just found that out. Or, oh, they were telling this story. But all of those things can get brought up by by that, just that image, right? And she really just had a way of capturing an image. Now, I think anytime you have a family member involved in something like this, there is a bias, right? There's obviously going to be a bias. And I don't think you always remember things exactly as they were, or you have a maybe just a misperception of, right? So when she's talking to certain people, it is interesting. Because Ella's a bit like, there was one time when she was talking to one of Tish's friends. I feel she was a Canadian woman. And it was just about, the fact that there's not always a lot of women in photography. And her friend was just like, no, Tish was given certain opportunities, but she didn't want them, right? Because they meant that she had to conform to something, or she wasn't able to, you know, I think, take as many photos as she wanted to, right? And I think that's always interesting and important, right? Because I think you can have a misconception of something, but that's not because you were trying to change the narrative. It's just, I think when you look at someone going through things, it can seem as if everything is one way, right? So I think with Tish, there was always that struggle. Like there's that struggle to try to make what she did something she could live off of, right? And just be comfortable with, but without having to compromise, and yeah, she wasn't able to make it a really profitable, oh my God, what endeavor, let's just say endeavor, you know what I mean? Which is just, it's a horrible shame, right? Because you see a load of people that can. So it's always just that wonder of like, how did that person make it work? Right? What were the compromises they had to? How come that person didn't get that same love? But I think the fact that Paul and Ella have been able to bring this story to life and really just dig into her history, her story. Right, the fact that she grew up in Elswick, but she moved around. She was in London for a period, working in Soho, doing a, a project on, prostitution, right, which is just fascinating. She did pieces on unemployment, right? That was a big thread going through her work. And it's just brought to us in this loving way, right? This way that isn't trying to sanitize who Tish is, right? We're getting Tish Murtha uncut and raw. And I think that's it's just the best way to ever kind of explore someone. You don't want a sanitized version, only the good points highlighted. You want to know everyone, because all of those different components work together to make who someone is. So if you only see part of that, it's a disservice. And this documentary is definitely not a disservice. It is fascinating, with just being able to see all the images. Sometimes as well, we get the image, but then a video that's showing more of that situation, that sequence, which is fascinating because for the most part, all the pictures are black and white. So then you have this color video, and just the difference, right? Is there is always a difference in the emotional impact of the two. So that is great. And we get to see all of these different, and then when you have the diary entries and the notes and things like that narrated by Maxine P, it really does, just elevate everything, right? Really does. Now, the only thing, look, there's a couple of things at the beginning. We have some narration, but the music behind it was a little bit loud, I would say. And then it's just right, because you know in a good way, like when people pop up, we do get like a caption will come with their name and all of that kind of business, and there's subtitles in there, just because certain accents are very tough, but it's white with no solid background behind it, which is always a problem. Right? It's always a problem, and it makes it really hard to see. So yeah, that's the only thing I will say that is a detraction on this piece of work. But otherwise, it's great, right? Another thing I didn't know, she has got her photography as a permanent installment at the Tate Britain. So I'm definitely go. I'm a Tate member, baby. So I'm definitely gonna go and check that out. Right. So yeah, people, yeah, definitely do that. That's worth doing, you know. But she's also got free. Ella put out free books of Tish's work. So with this documentary, there is definitely now this great legacy of Tish Murtha, and that is a beautiful thing. It's just a shame she wasn't able to appreciate it in her lifetime, but the fact that that legacy is there is great. Now, this documentary, people, will be out on the 17th of November from Modern Films. So there will be a link to the website, um, you know, on the website, right? So make sure you go there, and you'll be able to find out about screenings and everything like that. Definitely follow Paul and everyone else involved, because this was just fantastic. And if you like photography, right, you like art, you like political commentary, then Tish is something that you will want in your life, right? Because it's just going to enrich it, people. It's just going to enrich it.